Zach the Stockcropper, coming to you on the 28th of April, Sunday. It's been a crazy few weeks since our last video. For those that, just a lot of stuff to cover, I guess. We went to the premiere of Food Inc. 2 out in Washington, D.C., which turned out to be an incredible experience. As soon as I got back from that, we hopped in the planters, and we've been planting off and on for the last 2 weeks, and we're lucky enough to get almost everything planted in that span, and we've already got crop coming up, so we'll show some of that, and a lot of other fun news in relation to Stockcropper. So a lot of fun things to cover today, and we've got some green stuff coming in the field, and we're probably within about 5 to 6 weeks from launching the barns in the field. So a lot to pack in this episode, so make sure you watch all the way through. And as always, thanks for watching. Okay, so we'll start off talking about the movie Food Inc. 2 that I talked about at the end of the last video. I went to the premiere, I should say, with my cousin and uncle who live out in Washington, D.C. Really didn't have any idea what I was getting into that night or who would be there, but it turned out to be a lot bigger deal with a lot of major folks that were there, especially from a celebrity standpoint. And so for those of you that maybe saw my posts on Twitter or Facebook that I put up the night of the premiere, I got to meet a lot of really cool people. I got to meet Morgan Freeman. For those of you that follow me know I use that term, get busy living or get busy dying, right? And I got to say that to Morgan Freeman. That was pretty awesome. I got to meet Senator John Tester and Senator Cory Booker, and was really impressed with both of those folks and how down to earth they were and easy to visit with, and also their grasp of a lot of the issues, or a lot of the challenges that agriculture faces, and the constant theme, not only in agriculture, but a lot of parts of business in America and the world, and that is the threat of super consolidation. They really spoke eloquently about that at the premiere. And then got to, who else was there? Chris Tucker, the comedian from Rush Hour. Elon Musk's brother, Kimball Musk, was there. Michael Pollan, of course, who I know and have gotten to know over the last year with my participation in the film. And let's see, Senator Raphael Warnock. Trying to think who else. Oh, and then last but not least, Mark Cuban. His company, Magnolia Pictures, did the film, or distributed the film, and I knew that he had, it was his company, but I didn't think that he would be there. And I actually got to meet Mark Cuban, got my picture taken with him, and got to pitch him Stockcropper for about 30 seconds before we were getting ushered in to go watch the film. And but it was an incredible experience. I had no idea most of those people anyway. I had no idea they were going to be there, nor did I think I'd get to rub elbows with them. But this project, there's days where it's tempting to just hang it up because it's such an upward battle. But when you've worked your tail off for 4 years and spent a lot of your own money and put a lot of heart and soul into it, it's pretty fun to not only get to meet folks that can potentially be game changers to making this something that matters, but to see your story on screen and with something that's a really powerful work about the food system. And so if you haven't checked out Food Inc. 2 yet, it is streaming, or it's video on demand. You have to rent it. It's not free, but it's on Amazon Prime, Google Play, Apple TV, and I believe I think it's eventually coming on Hulu, if you have a Hulu subscription, in August, is what I've seen. But got a lot of really good feedback from folks, both farmers and non-farmers so far. So again, check out Food Inc. 2 on all those platforms I talked about. So the other big thing that happened when I was in Washington, D.C. is I was literally getting out of the Metro subway when I gave the go-ahead on the way to Food Inc. to launch our redesigned website, thestockcropper.com. and I wanted to have that done in time for the movie, and we literally launched it about 2 hours before they showed the movie in DC. And I'm really proud and pleased of the overhaul. Our first site was a decent landing page with some information, but it's much more interactive, and we've got a really nice video to explain stock cropping on it. We've got we're going to have a merch page on there. It's not up yet, but that's something I'm going to be working on this week. We've got the backstory about the stock cropper, links to some of our press articles and our social media, and we're going to put a lot of pictures up on there as well. And the other thing that's been really cool and been received really well is we have the ability where there's a Cluster Cluck Me button on the website, and that links you to a way to register for if you're interested in purchasing our first product release, which will be the Cluster Cluck Pico, the backyard autonomous chicken barn that we just finished up redesign work on this week, and we're going to start shopping that out for fabrication and manufacturing needs, and it's all kind of happening. So we've had really good response so far. Since the movie came out, we've had a lot of requests from the release of the film, as well as I did a really big podcast called the Survival Podcast, which I learned had a lot bigger following than I thought, because we had a ton of requests that came after that for Picos, because I talked about the Pico release. And so it's very obvious that I think, especially on the smaller barns, there are a lot of people that are interested in them, which is great. The challenge is now to figure out how to deliver on everything, which that's a great problem to have. It's really where I hope to be here at this point. So anyway, check out the stockcropper.com overhauled website. Really pleased with how it turned out, and thanks to the folks at Koloff Digital in Forest City, Iowa, that helped me put it together. So as soon as I got home from Washington, D.C. on, I think it was August 10th, we started planting soybeans, or we started planting again, I think on April 11th, I should say. And we planted for the next 3 or 4 days, and then we got rained out, and then starting last Monday, we planted really hard last week, and we were fortunate enough with the really early planting we did. We got all of our corn and soybeans knocked in, with the exception of some of our plot work, which only is going to constitute a couple acres, along with some of the fun stuff we'll have at the stock cropper plot that I'll talk about in a bit here, show you. So we're in really good shape. The pasture, as you'll see here shortly, is up and cooking. And so for those wondering when we're going to have barns in the field, based off the timing right now, if temperatures stay decent, I would guess we'd probably be launched somewhere in that first 10 days of June, or maybe even a little bit sooner if it stays warm and moist for good growing conditions. So done a lot of work in the last couple of weeks, been really busy. A lot of stuff going on, but a really good 2 weeks, and a lot of fun things going on. And we're off to a great start. It's finally started raining here again. I wouldn't say the drought is busted, but it's really nice to have rainfall, and it would almost be nice if it would shut off here. We've got a week of rain all this week, so we're going to be held out of the field. It'd be nice to be able to get in and finish some of this other planting, and do some of the herbicide applications we need to make on the big farm acres. But really glad to see moisture come back. We'll just see if it sticks around here for the duration for the season or not. So we will start off with what we left off with in the last video. We were drilling our pasture lanes, and you can see that we have pasture that's emerged through this 300 and some bushel corn residue from last year. But I have a couple thin spots where the residue was pretty thick, but overall looks like we got more than an adequate stand coming here. The thin wispy stuff is our annual ryegrass. The bigger stuff is our oats. And then you can see some field peas, and that stuff I believe is our rape, forage rape coming up. So this is what I wanted to see when I came over here, but a nice start. This is the 20-foot lane here, and 10-foot lanes a few passes over. In between, we've got our rows of corn, and I'll dig one up here quick and show you where that's at. Okay, so there you can see our little corn seedling. We got our coleoptile shoot starting to push up. It's about an inch tall, so still got about 1.5 inches to go. You can see our depth. We had a planting depth here of about 2¼ to 2½ inches, which is great. That's where I like to plant. And I would guess by next weekend when we come out here, we will have nice little rows of corn popping up where the animals ran last year. Okay, and now we are over in what I talked about last time, which was our relay oats. So we planted the oats and then we came back, I think it was a couple days later, and we planted our soybeans into, and we do have some soybeans that are pushing up. You can see some of the soybeans that are up and emerged. We had a frost on, let's see, what morning was that? Wednesday morning, I believe, yeah. So these things just eked out and stayed underground long enough, and I think we're frost free. But so we've got a 20-inch twin. You can see a soybean row over here, right there. So what we'll do is we're going to terminate these oats in between. Soybeans will grow up, and then we'll have our quad of oats in between, and you can see the next row of soybeans coming up over there. So this is gonna, yeah, like I said, we're gonna have to terminate the oats in between the soybean rows so they have space to come, but this is gonna be a fun one to watch throughout the summer here too. So the rest of this space, we've got a whole bunch of different concepts that we're gonna have out here in front for our field day site here. Again, we're going to do, we've got a couple different ideas with sweet corn, polycrop with pumpkins, maybe some soybeans, and we'll have also a couple different iterations of twin row corn with pasture mixes grown in between. So we're going to have a whole myriad of things, and we may set up some pasture lanes also for both the stock crop or nano and the Pico that we'll have here in the site where we normally have the field day, which is usually up there for those that have been here before. It just looks a lot different in April than it does in August when there's nothing here. So anyway, it's pretty wet right now. Looks like this week's going to be out, but hopefully sometime in the next 2 weeks things dry up so we can get this seeded at the right time. But we're going to have, I'm excited for the concepts that I have in my head that we're going to put out here. Oh yeah, we're going to do some popcorn as well, maybe some decorative Indian corn with the pumpkins growing together, and going to be a lot of cool concepts here for 2024. So I wanted to shoot some content and talk about the Pico specifically, since I talked about it. A lot of you have seen this and some of the content I've put out here, but want to talk about some of the design changes that I alluded to that we just finished up making on this first version. There's a lot of stuff we got right with the first version of the Pico here, but there's a couple things that we needed to tweak, and I'm really happy with some of that stuff and wanted to walk through the changes. The first one is the way that we have to open up this roof is really tough. This panel weighs about 55 pounds, and so to get into this thing you've got to be really tall, and it just really not convenient, especially for shorter people to open that. We wanted to make that a lot simpler. So we devised this down and made the door about, instead of being 7.5 feet wide, we whittled it down to about, I think, 3.5 feet here, cut it in two essentially. And so everything will be solid over here, and we're going to have a door that will hinge up and then fold like a bifold. So it'll go up like this. And so when you want to walk into the barn, you'll simply open your door, you'll flip this lid up and push it, and the door will go up, and then you'll be able to walk in to the barn if you need to. You know, again, this barn is designed to be able to be completely chored from the outside, food, water, egg collection, all of that good stuff. But this door redesign is one of the biggest improvements that we made for ease of use. The other thing that we did is we went away from having rivet bolts in the bottom of, we basically eliminated the need to assemble all of these parts individually when you would get your barn. These are going to be all solid welded panels on the bottom with the chicken wire secured on the inside, so there won't be any more of these cross member supports. It's just going to make everything a heck of a lot stronger. The other thing that we did to cut part count was we eliminated the front tires, so the barn is now going to just be a three-wheeled barn, and we're going to have some ski skids here just so that the corner of the barn doesn't ever dig in if you get into uneven ground conditions. So that's a change we made. And then we totally redesigned this front drive mechanism. This thing was a good first start, but there were just some things that have not made ease of use as what it's going to need to be. And so I really feel like we've got those changes in place to make this thing a lot easier to do. So essentially, and the other improvement we put on is we didn't have the ability with this current setup to disengage the drive wheel. So if you wanted to just freewheel the barn and the drive wheel was down, you can't do it right now because there's a chain in place there. On the new barn, we have essentially a bolt that will go through the drive shaft that you can simply pull that D-ring essentially out, and then it'll put the thing into free spin mode. And then we added the ability to have a hitch, so there'll be not only your steering apparatus for when you need to turn, but there'll be a hitch apparatus that you can hook up to if you want to move the barn quicker than what it'll move itself, like say to another part of your property. You'd be able to hook on with a lawnmower or a Ranger or whatever and pull the barn wherever you need. But that will be with the barn obviously in the down position with the wheel up off the ground. So if you haven't seen what the Pico looks like when we move it, this is about the speed that it goes. And especially with the hens, they're so excited for the new fresh grass when the thing moves. They run to the front almost automatically. Yeah, you can just see them go to town looking for new things to munch on. You can also hear how quiet that motor is. You really can't even hear it hum at all. So the barn as is working, really well. It's just a couple things that we wanted to tweak to it to make it a little bit better than this first version was. So again, a lot of things we got right, but a couple really good improvements that we made. The other thing that I forgot about is we're going to eliminate the feed chute system back here in the center of the barn, and we're instead going to put a door right next to the door here, where it's going to be like a male chute that'll open up, and it'll be a lot lower, especially for shorter people to be able to open the male chute. And there's going to be a feeder right behind here on the inside of the barn that you'll be able to gravity feed in and dump feed in 40, I think it's a 50-pound bag at a time. So you can fill it up, for the week or however many birds you have that'll last you for, but dump a whole 40 or 50-pound sack of feed through the feed chute door that will be right next to the main door. And then the other thing is we are going to have our water fill plug located about right here on the front of the barn, and that can either be filled with a garden hose, or if you want to fill it with a pail, depending on what your setup is, you'll have both options. And we will still have our gutter feature for rainfall water collection on the new barn as well. So a lot happening over the last couple weeks. A movie premiere, a bunch of planting, pasture strips, oats, everything's coming up. We've got animals on the way coming for the 2024 season as well. Again, check out thestockcropper.com. If you're interested in the Pico, which we just got done showing, make sure you go on the website and put in a reservation submission to be on the list. so that we have an idea of how many of these things we're going to try to produce here in 2024. The other ask I have is that if you have any concepts that you would like to see us still plant, I still have some room at the demo farm where our field day will be on August 24th, and that'll be a Saturday morning. But I have room to put some new concepts in, so if you have an idea that you would like us to demonstrate, you know, and we have the equipment to do a lot of wild and funky stuff, so really there isn't anything too zany that I'm not willing to try at least once. So leave some comments down below if there's some sort of schematic you'd like to see, and we'll do our best to consider and put it in there. So, but for now, that's it. Thanks for watching. Get busy living.